President-elect Donald Trump says stay tuned. He's hoping to keep TikTok around. But the social media app is expected to go dark Sunday after the U.S. Supreme Court refused to block a law banning it. ABC's Lionel Moyes reports.
What am I supposed to do?
TikTok users watching the clock.
They're going to take away TikTok.
The Supreme Court today upholding a congressional nationwide ban on the popular social media app with more than 170 million users in the U.S. alone. The Chinese-owned TikTok had challenged the sale or ban law on grounds it limits free speech. But the justices unanimously upheld the law, saying it did not violate First Amendment rights. The bipartisan law passed last year banned TikTok unless its Chinese owner ByteDance sells the company, citing a national security threat.
TikTok is a threat to our national security and ought to be sold, not banned, but sold by the Chinese so they stop surveillance, illegal collection of information about Americans, and representing a threat to our national security.
Many TikTokers are flocking over to the app RedNote.
Hello, TikTok refugees from the U.S. Welcome to RedNote.
It's also Chinese-owned, and intelligence officials have warned it could pose a security risk. A presidential executive order could delay the TikTok ban, which goes into effect Sunday, one day before President-elect Trump is sworn into office. The Biden administration says it's up to the Trump administration to implement the law. President-elect Trump today telling Americans to stay tuned for his decision. TikTok CEO today thanking Trump for his commitment to find a solution.
Rest assured, we will do everything in our power to ensure our platform thrives as your online home for limitless creativity and discovery.
Also worth noting, TikTok CEO is one of the many tech leaders who will be attending Trump's inauguration Monday, invited by the administration. Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
With the deadline to ban TikTok just days away, Chinese officials now reportedly considering selling the app's U.S. operations to Elon Musk. But with users already fleeing to other apps, has Congress's attempt to limit Chinese influence on social media backfired? Drew DeBose is watching that today in today's Tech Check. Hey, Dee.
Hey, Carl. So there's an app that our audience should know now. It's called RedNote. And as of this morning, it is still #1 on Apple's App Store, highlighting really this classic lawmaker dilemma. As lawmakers are looking to regulate or ban what they see as the current threat, users have already moved on. And in this case, they moved on to an app far more Chinese than TikTok. It's known to Americans as RedNote, but its Chinese name, Xiaohongshu, literally translates into Little Red Book, as in Mao Zedong's Guide to Communist Ideology and Revolutionary Principles, a symbol of Chinese communist propaganda. This is the app. Open it up, and it looks like Instagram meets TikTok meets Reddit, but with a lot more Chinese language content, and very welcoming, by the way, to American users. Here's a scroll through Tech Check producer Jasmine's RedNote feed this morning.
Hi, TikTok refugee. First of all, I want to say welcome to Xiaohongshu, welcome to Redbook. When I open this app,
you'll see a few more videos here, all sort of welcoming self-proclaimed TikTok refugees. And another one, an American TikTok refugee posted a guide to using Redbook and says the Chinese people on this app, they don't want us to talk about politics because they're not allowed to talk about politics. Now, in other words, as a Chinese app, it is heavily censored. TikTok at least was the American version of a Chinese app with more American rules. RedNote had few international users until about a few months ago. According to PitchBook, it was last valued at $17 billion and backed by Chinese internet giants Alibaba and Tencent, as well as Silicon Valley VCs, DST and Notable Capital, which was spun out of GGV amid growing U.S.-China tensions. Now, Tencent, which has been an investor in RedNote since 2016, was just last week added to the U.S. Defense Department's list of companies allegedly working with China's military. This is something that Tencent refutes. But you look at ByteDance's cap table by contrast. It does not include Tencent, and it does include many more American firms, suggesting that TikTok, despite all of its controversies, operates with greater transparency and alignment to Western norms compared to RedNote. It is the paradoxically safer bet if RedNote continues to gain traction here. I spoke to a ByteDance investor this morning based in China. He's been watching the rush of these TikTok refugees to RedNote and also what he calls new momentum for Meta. So he is hopeful that a potential deal to sell TikTok to Elon Musk could slow the outflow, since many of these users rushing to Red Note, guys, they're doing so in a kind of defiance. They want to show that they like Chinese apps, despite lawmakers trying to ban it and concerned about it.
I'm not going to be mad about it.
Developing story tonight, the U.S. Supreme Court votes 9-0 to uphold the legal ban on TikTok in the U.S., set to take effect Sunday.
On a T-shirt.
Industry analysts say it means the app will be removed from Apple and Google app stores. They could face fines if they don't comply with the law. 170 million Americans currently use TikTok. A Florida-based creator told us she's devastated by this news.
It's just one of those days,
to say the least.
Let's get that fixed.
I've built such a great community that, you know, it's hard for me to put in words without crying.
With this shutdown looming, many people are now turning to another China-owned based app called Red Note. Our investigative reporter Terry Parker joins us from the newsroom. Terry, experts are raising the same very serious concerns and warnings about this fast-growing alternative.
Right, Todd, you know that Red Note is quickly becoming the go-to replacement for TikTok, but tech experts that I spoke to say the risk with this company could be even greater.
Everything is maxed out.
Faced with a looming TikTok ban, many creators have already signed up on another Chinese app, Red Note.
I am on Red Note already.
It's the number one downloaded social app on the iTunes store right now. I asked technology and futurist expert Jason Snyder what he would tell people ready to go Red Note.
That is really I want everybody to hear my joy in TikTok going the way of the dinosaur.
What they're signing up for. And what they're consenting to.
Snyder says Red Note is similar to TikTok, but with this app, the concerns over data privacy, foreign influence, and lack of transparency are magnified.
The question is, where is your data going, and how is it going to be used, and how is that platform profiting from you? And when you look at that at scale, it's not just on an individual level, it's on a group level, it's on a state level, it's on a national level.
Snyder says research has already been done into the parent company of Red Note, and it shows the Chinese government
There's more
has
flagrant
mechanisms in place to censor keywords, to block posts,
oppressing Paul and making sure he doesn't stream.
And these things can be exploited, by enemies of the United States in ways that could potentially be sinister.
Snyder emphasizes that it's critical that you know exactly what you're consenting to on any platform that you join. For now, he says, proceed with caution. Terry Parker, WPBF.
I mean, we're just going to fall for whichever. So then, as promised, some conspiracy on LA being on fire.
You're telling me that 5 years ago, Donald Trump said to Gavin Newsom, hey, your water reserves are out. I got this approval so you can get water in from the north and save yourself because several fires happen every year and we don't want to not have water. And Gavin goes, no. And then now we're hearing the fire hydrants are empty. And we're hearing that.
First off, fire hydrants weren't empty. We had an atmospheric river in California the year before. Our aquifers were full. There was just bad water pressure going in along with power outages keeping the pumps from working. So this is like everything he said has been BS. Like Trump said to get the water from up north. Why are we going to bring water from up north where all the fires are into the cities where we don't usually have fires? The fact that freak 100-mile-an-hour winds is, common occurrence around here? No, that absolutely isn't the case. But this dude and his wonderful conspiracy are kicking.
The LA County cut funding for the fire department, and fire insurance was just cut off a couple weeks before, just coincidentally. And then, in a couple days, Pete Diddy's house is about to get investigated, which would, affect a lot of LA homes. And then you're telling me, that 3 fires just started at the same time, in different places. They start. Oh my goodness. Guys, this is intentional, okay? Wake up, guys. All the systems are created for you to stay more broke and for the rich to get richer.
I think the whole deal is him trying to get richer off of stupid people. This person in the side, in his comment section, 100-mile-per-hour winds created by the same Jewish space lasers that caused the hurricanes in Carolina. I can't. Or at least some people know better. Keep spreading misinformation, bro. Oh, it's great stuff. So then coming from a similar source.
I mean, she does have a great point, but what do you think?
Make it make sense. Deli cheese in a plastic bag, bread in a plastic bag, almond milk in a plastic jug, blueberries in a plastic carton, paper towels in a plastic wrap, peppers in plastic bags for your produce, meat wrapped in plastic. But they won't give you a plastic bag or a brown bag, unless if you pay for it, of course, because we're saving the environment.
I mean, she does have a great point.
So the petroleum companies that make these products spent decades telling people that climate change and other issues aren't real and had studies on this and hid the evidence. Now that we know where that climate change is real and their studies have proven so and that they covered it up, they try to put this on the consumer to pay for things and basically fill in the gaps for them to blame Americans for the climate change that they helped to cause. So to consider that people flying around on private jets and basically doing whatever they want are not contributing to climate change and it's our plastic bags, they already missed the mark to begin with. We're being misled by these idiots.
The big question on a lot of people's mind right now is, will I still be able to access TikTok come Sunday? The Supreme Court did just uphold that ban that paves the way for TikTok to be banned on Sunday. So what will happen when you log in? Well, first off, it might start to get a little bit buggy. That's because this law actually applies to the cloud service providers and the app stores. So your information might need to get routed through a cloud service provider that's not in the United States. Also, because the app stores will take it off their stores, that means you won't be able to download important updates. So that means that over time, the app might get harder to use. But TikTok itself might actually just go dark. There is reporting that the app will instead show users a pop-up on Sunday that explains the ban and potentially gives them the opportunity to download their data. All that to say, if you have some TikToks that you really care about, you can go on the app or online today and start downloading those videos. The big question on a
Yep. So on to the real fun. Hulk Hogan. So a rapper I'm a pretty big fan of called Open Mike Eagle started streaming, and he has been doing some of the best content I've seen in a minute. And this video is amazing.
I had been trying to scheme my way into the Intuit Dome, which is very close to my house. It's dangerous. I could walk there. They were doing the first Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and I was trying to repeat some of the same magic that I used to help me get into the Kia Forum, which is like half a block away from the Intuit Dome, to get into the pop out. Put that out on the internet, and it turns out that I knew somebody who worked along with Kindred's people. So I was able to get in based on that.
It'd have been great if you got to perform.
I tried to put it out on the internet to see if I had ends. Didn't have ends. I hit up a wrestler who I know who told me he didn't have ends. So I was watching it from my home on Monday. Happy to be able to watch the show. I felt like it was a very good show, but also feeling, I guess, a complicated cocktail of emotions based on inability to have enough money to go, right? And then professional jealousy that I wasn't famous enough to be there because they kept showing all the famous people there too. And I knew about a fifth of those people. Fuck. So I wasn't having the greatest time after watching the show and enjoying the show. I was furiously and sadly cooking some chicken. I had the show on my iPad. And then midway through the show, you hear this very familiar guitar riff. And I'm thinking, God damn it, I don't know if I can take this. Right when I felt like it couldn't get worse, you hear this very familiar guitar riff, and then the saggy, limpy, bleached blonde bag of bones sort of waddles out there and starts his bullshits. And right when I'm about to fucking start rage crying in this chicken we're cooking. I was dangerously close to it. And then I heard the sound of the boo birds. I heard the sound of the boo birds. The boo birds started flying. And I was like, oh, maybe this is just like an edgy pocket of fans who are booing, and then it's going to die down, and then the nostalgia is going to take hold and it'll get drowned out. But no, the boos got louder.
Thankfully, more and more older wrestlers are speaking out against Hulk Hogan and his union busting, backhanded, backstabbing ways. And now we're seeing all the horrible things that he's done to people, the racism that he has espoused, and all that's going to be covered in this video.
And then he
started why
he's
a MAGA
shilling
front man
for his shitty racism beer. And then the boos got even louder. And you can hear that the WWE was trying to tweak the crowd audio and turn it down so that it could be like, well, are they booing? But the boos were so loud that the volume trickery didn't work. And I was really, I managed to feel a little happiness in that moment because fuck that guy. Oh, and there's a lot of people who I've seen on the internet who don't understand why he was getting booed. And I'm a very helpful friendly neighborhood indie rapper. So I'm here to help. I'm going to help explain to those who are confused why it is that Hulk Hogan got booed. Now I'll say the reason that I don't like this guy, and I would imagine this to be the most important reason that he was booed out of that building on Monday, is because of his racism, which was exposed by leaked audio some years ago. And I would invite those who have never heard what he said, I'm going to do you the service of playing it for you right now. This is what it was that Hulk Hogan said after he had had sex with his friend's wife, and the friend had surveilled it and unbeknownst to him.
She jump sides on me because I shelled out $2-3 million for her music, and I've been trying to help her. I've done everything fucking with him day and night on the radio like a jackass, and he's working with me to make it work. He goes that you really shouldn't call every day and do the shit I do. The Southeast record, this billionaire guy, he basically did more for her a year than anybody's done. Okay, he had one song after 10 months, the shit went back up and back and back still. And momentum, but I try to be the realist, and this is your option. You got a better option. Said you can decide what the fuck. He's gonna put some time there. How you go, but right now there's nothing else. We're doing the best we can. So it gets to the point where I really broke was fucking the black guy's son, where they've been hanging out. I caught them holding hands together on the tour.
There it is.
Okay. I'm not a double standard type guy. I'm a racist to a point.
I'm a racist to a point. Matter of fact, let me move even my webcam out of the way for a moment here so you can make sure you see what's being said here. Okay. I'm not a double standard type of guy. I'm a racist to a point, fucking niggers. We all are that way.
Feels good.
If we're gonna fuck with niggers, let's get a rich one. That was what he said. He has since gone on to, in his words,
I'm sorry you felt that way, apology.
And in his apology, he puts it all down to, I used some bad words, is what he says. He says, I used some bad words. Hulk Hogan apologizes for unacceptable racist rant as he is scrubbed from WWE Hall of Fame. 8 years ago, I used offensive language during a conversation. Offensive language. It was unacceptable for me to have used that offensive language. There's no excuse for it, and I apologize for having done it. That is not who I am. I believe very strongly that every person in the world is important and should not be treated differently based on race, gender, orientation, religious beliefs, or otherwise. I am disappointed with myself that I used language that is offensive and inconsistent with my own beliefs. How interesting. The language. So he has apologized for using the language.
Sorry, use the language.
And he says it's
got
inconsistent with his beliefs. So what exactly are his beliefs then? Because it certainly sounded like he believed what he was saying then. And you would think that a person in a private conversation is probably actually saying what aligns with their beliefs more than what they say when they're doing a public relations statement. So this isn't the sort of thing where you just get to say, I said the wrong words. Because it's not just the words, it's the beliefs, it's the attitudes underneath. You're saying now that you believe very strongly that every.
As it says right here, Hulk Hogan is speaking out about a just released audio transcript that features him making racist slurs about his daughter Brooke's love life. 8 years ago, I used offensive language during a conversation. It was unacceptable for me to have used that offensive language. There is no excuse for it. And I apologize for having done it, Hogan said in a statement exclusively to People. The transcript featuring that conversation was published online by the National Enquirer. Sometimes they do decent work. I gotta appreciate it. This is not who I am. I believe very strongly that every person in the world is important and should be treated differently based on race, gender, orientation, religious beliefs, or otherwise, Hogan told People. Such a PR answer. I do not buy it. I am disappointed with myself that I use language that is offensive and inconsistent with my own beliefs. Hogan was scrubbed from the WWE's website on Friday morning with no videos or photos of the famed wrestler remaining. He was also removed from the Online Hall of Fame. His lawyer, David Houston, confirmed to People that he's officially resigned from the organization. Rest in peace. Another one.
Every person is important. Well, okay, so then how did you go from believing that everyone's racist to a point, fucking niggers, and if you're gonna fuck with a nigger, fuck with a rich one? That doesn't sound like you believe that people should be treated fairly at all. It sounds like you believe black people like me, right? Like me, are niggers. So you just apologizing for your language doesn't deal with any of the underlying beliefs presented in what the fuck you said.
True.
And we are past the point. I am past the point, and I believe that I know if I can correctly guess how a lot of people who look like me feel, apologizing about the language isn't quite gonna cut it. For a person to be redeemed after saying something like that, you have to really do some real work. You have to really take accountability for your fucked up beliefs. And you have to demonstrate somehow that there's been some character growth. And actually saying that you just apologized for the language is the opposite of character growth. It's not taking any accountability for the shit that you actually thought and said.
He's been getting booed, and a lot more wrestlers have been speaking out about him and the horrible things that he's done to them and has said in the background.
Believe you?
And he's also a spokesperson at the RNC.
And it's like the people who
there's a couple more trash people I have to get to after Hulk Hogan.
It's like either you forgot about this, which is probably easy if you're not black, right? If you're a wrestling fan and there's so much suspension of disbelief involved in being a wrestling fan, believe me, we'll get to some of that too. But if you're not black, it's probably easy for you to forget this happened. And if you think it's okay, if you think we've moved past it, then you clearly haven't talked to anybody black about how they feel about it, which I believe is important in this instance.
Like when I see these people,
it sort of reminds me of.
I
remember one time I was at a comedy club, and Louis C.K. dropped in. This was before all of his controversy and his dirty little penis behavior became public. And I was a fan of him at the time, so I was excited to see him. And he was doing some material. I don't know how much of it he was trying out, but he had some joke in it where the punchline of it was him saying nigger. And aside from just the offense,
that's exactly what I was talking about a minute ago. The fact that he's a union busting piece of garbage when Jesse Ventura was trying to get some stuff done for people that were working for the union, he ratted him out to Vince like a piece of trash. Same thing goes. There was an issue between him and Macho Man Randy Savage where he got involved in his personal life, and when Randy tried to call him out for it and wanted to get a face-to-face with him, he ran. He's a coward. So, yeah, not a Hogan fan.
using a slur.
His heel turn was real.
I had this moment where I realized why that's so fucking unfair.
Rabbit, how's it going? Good to see
because, like, I believe I may have been, if not the only black person in that room, one of a few. And the difference between somebody who's black hearing that joke and somebody who's not black hearing that joke is that when you hear that word and you're black, you have to have a negotiation in yourself about how you feel about hearing that word in a way that somebody who's not black doesn't have to deal with. Like, it's putting an obstacle for only the black people in the room to be able to enjoy the joke. And I'm not sure if people who think that it's all about free speech and it's all about being able to say whatever you want think about it that way. That you are literally isolating and bringing up a thing that's so sensitive to a very specific group of people. And you're not having a conversation with them about it. You're not asking them how they feel about it. You're not processing anything with them. You're just saying the transgressive thing because you think it's funny to say. And this particular instance with this wrestler, like I said, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief.
This is also why Chris Rock doesn't get very much love in the black community. When he got slapped, nobody gave a shit.
But in this specific instance, the black wrestling fans, when they see Hulk Hogan now, knowing that he has not really actually addressed any of this, non-black fans have this very easy road to not thinking about that, because when he rips his shirt, they have the nostalgia. When they hear the guitar riff, their road to the nostalgia is easy. My road to the nostalgia is fucked now, because I have to self-deny my own pain to access the nostalgia now. And WWE at different points has gambled on how much of that is actually a problem. And I hope that they learned on Monday that it's a fucking big deal. It is not some shit to be swept under the rug. They just entered a new business relationship with him and his shitty piss beer. So, you know, they fucking stepped in it. And I don't quite know how they address it, but they fucking stepped in it. And so again, I think the racism is the main reason he got booed. But if the racism isn't enough for you, how about he's a known ridiculous liar?
Yep.
Like a ridiculous liar. Like a lot, like there's liars and then there's fucking Hulk Hogan. He once said he wrestled 400 days in a year. He said this. He said this on multiple occasions, that there was a year where he wrestled 400 days in 1 year. And he was saying that he could count it to 400 because he had been flying back and forth to Japan, and then the date line starts over. So somehow he counted and got to 400. There's this great story.
Like, it's mostly like the one that got me was that him in the room full of comedians with Jerry Seinfeld, and you had, hey, what's good, Mike? Good to see you. Happy Friday. You had all these comedians in there, and Louis C.K. decides to say the word, and the only person with enough spine and backbone to actually push back against this was Jerry Seinfeld, who after that moment I respected far beyond. Gibbs debate show, can't deal with lactose libertarian nonsense today. I mean, there comes a line and there comes a time. I mean, it is what it is and it ain't gonna change. And the fact that Jerry Seinfeld said, I don't want to find the funny in that word, left Chris Rock looking horrible and let you know what kind of person Louis C.K. is. And now people talk all this trash about cancel culture and the whole deal. There's no such thing as cancel culture. Like, they tried to cancel Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is funny. Dave Chappelle is personable. It is what it is. Like, you're not going to be able to cancel that dude because at the end of the day, he's still funny. He may be horrible in some instances, but you're not going to be able to cancel someone if people think they're genuinely funny. So all these comedians, all these people are going to survive until they stop being funny to enough people. I mean, The only way I get canceled is if y'all stop showing up. If y'all stop showing up, then I am definitely canceled. And the day I decide to give up on my own, that's when you let it win. So you either keep pushing and you do what you got to do, or you accept the canceling. I mean, that's another good portion of it, but I mean, he was making good money for, or if we're talking about Dave Chappelle, he was making good money for Comedy Central, and look how that ended up. So I think he's pissed in enough people's shoes to where if they really wanted to cancel him, they would make it happen.
That he tells about being at Wembley Stadium.
Also true. He does make money for people because he is funny. And when people stop thinking he's
there
funny,
was a Make-A-Wish kid,
maybe
he had
people won't back
gotten
him.
a front row seat to see the event, and that when he was out there wrestling, he looked for the kid in the seat, and the kid wasn't there, and apparently because during the event, the kid had died, and that would be a really sad story. Except that
there was no kid.
SummerSlam 1992. Hulk Hogan was not in the UK. He did not wrestle at that event. He was not even working for the WWF when that happened. He has said that Elvis Presley used to come see him. Elvis Presley was a big fan of him when he used to work in Memphis. Now, Hulk Hogan did work in Memphis before he got very famous working for the WWF. He started working for Memphis in 1979.
No, he definitely is not.
Elvis Presley died in 1977. He has said that when he took the Undertaker's move, the Tombstone, which is a reverse pile driver, he said that Undertaker broke his neck.
Lies and
I'm
slander.
going to show you a photo now of the moment of impact in this reverse pile driver. This is the moment of impact.
Head
at this
firmly point, off the ground, safe
Undertaker
and sound.
would go flat because the moment of impact is actually Undertaker's knees hitting the mat and not the head. That's because Undertaker is a
His
safe
lips are moving
professional
because
wrestler
he's alive.
and would
I
not
believe
drive
it.
a man's head into the mat, especially not the biggest money-making star in the company. Hulk Hogan said this impact that we're looking at, where Hulk Hogan's head is clearly 6 inches off of the ground, broke his neck. And if the lies aren't enough, the long history of backstage politics could maybe be the deal. There's a wrestler named Jesse the Body Ventura.
Oh, he's getting to it.
Who was going to start a union for wrestlers in the 80s. One of the most fucked up things about being a professional wrestler is that you can't work for whatever company you want to work for. They tell you where to be and when to be there. But you are listed federally as an independent contractor, which means you're not protected as an employee. Jesse the Body Ventura was trying to start a union to make sure that wrestlers were treated fairly. Hulk Hogan heard about that and went and snitched to Vince McMahon. Ultimately, I believe getting Jesse the Body Ventura fired.
I'm just
definitely quashing any energy around trying to start
some
a
trash
union.
for the time
This guy,
being. It's been a minute.
This
Got
guy
a few
fucking
things
Hulk
to get
Hogan.
out.
So there, when he turned heel, was it 96
Dana White's another piece of garbage,
or
but
97?
that's for another day.
There was a year-long story where Sting, who was previously the biggest baby
Start
face in
racking up the
WCW,
things that all these people have in common.
behind Hulk, but before Hulk got there,
becomes
Sting was the
pretty
biggest
apparent.
baby face in WCW. They did this really long, intricate story where Sting, who used to look like this is what Sting looked like when Hogan got there. Hogan turns into a bad guy, which sort of starts making this whole sort of good guy uncool. And they do this intricate story where Sting's friends don't trust him anymore. The NWO, which is Hogan's bad guy group, makes a fake Sting, which confuses matters even more because Sting's friends really think that Sting is out there doing bullshit, but then it's exposed to be a fake Sting. So Sting, feeling like he's not trusted by any of his friends, and this is over the course of a year. Sting goes away.
He's been a piece of garbage.
He starts
for a
making
long
appearances where he's just like way up in the stands or up in the rafters. And over the course of a year, Sting that used to look like this starts looking like this,
emo.
right? And the fans
should be
really
enough
get
reason to
behind him.
dislike
It's this
him.
really cool way to evolve this character now that the winds have changed from regular good guy, bad guy into more edgy characters. And they do the perfect build-up for there to be a match with Sting and Hogan where Sting wins and gets the title.
Yep,
Now, the way that this match was set up to be done, the NWO, which is Hogan's group, had their own referee in their pocket, this guy named Nick Patrick. So what the story was supposed to be was that they have a match. Hogan gets Sting down. Nick Patrick, the referee, does a fast count. 1, 2, 3, real fast. So it's obvious cheating, right? And then the newly debuting from the WWF, Bret Hart, appears. And for some reason, he has the authority to get them to restart the match. So everybody's happy, and then Sting eventually ends up winning.
Ooh.
This was supposed to be obvious cheating.
Probably a great show.
Which would make it look like Hogan cheated so that Sting would still have his heat. And be able to triumph.
Not to love wrestling. Like, it's a
Before
great
the
show.
match,
and these people put their bodies
Hogan
on the
tells
line
the
for
referee,
our enjoyment. But
count
damn it, if
nice
some
and
of these
slow.
people aren't garbage.
So instead of the quick, fast
Particularly
cheating count,
Hulk Hogan.
it's an actual count. So visually, and for all the fans, it looks like Hogan legitimately won. So then it makes Bret Hart look like an asshole for trying to restart the match, and Sting look like a loser for eventually winning, but then it's all fucked up because it looked like he legitimately lost. This is Hulk Hogan,
You're actually
and wrestling
on camera?
fans know
Sick.
this type of shit about him. And if the backstage politics ain't enough for you, there's the real life politics of Hulk Hogan, who on Monday, he comes out and he's saying that WWE's best partner ever is Netflix, and he rips his shirt off, and under his shirt, he's got a Netflix shirt on. He did this very recently, and it might still live in people's minds. He did this at the Republican National Convention, ripping his shirt off and revealing a Trump shirt underneath. Now, again, there's a lot of Republicans in wrestling, and
nothing wrong with
fans
that.
like me, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief that goes into enjoying the product. Hogan has responded to getting booed and is saying something like, "Oh, I represent stuff these California people don't like." He's trying to make it about the politics, but it's not about the politics. The Undertaker, who we showed a second ago, is a Trump supporter. He had
But
Trump
not
on
an
his
asshole.
podcast. The Undertaker made an appearance at this event and got cheered wildly. Triple H, I'm not exactly sure what his politics are, but he was recently seen at Mar-a-Lago partying with Trump.
What don't you believe?
He was shown on Monday. He's the leader of the creative for WWE right now, and is generally
we're
a
talking
beloved
about,
figure.
good old
I think
Hulk
there's
Hogan
a
right
certain
now,
amount of
Bangkok.
suspension of disbelief that a lot of fans take into wrestling, because a lot
I'm
of
a
times,
mercenary.
or most of the time, people sort of keep their politics out of it.
Let's swap these up.
But there's a lot of bullshit to be dealt with in it. But I do think that if any of those people, I think if Triple H had a tape come out where he was calling people niggers, then he wouldn't be able to be in the position he's in. I think Undertaker is currently flirting with fucking up his legacy by being too political outside of wrestling right now. But I can tell you 100%,
Yeah,
there was
no,
a
it
tape
took
of
people
him
a minute to figure these things out, but as
calling
long
black
as they
people
figure it out
fucking
at some
niggers,
point.
then he would not be cheered the
I'm
way
cool
he
with
is today. I
But
think
I'm also going to get
Hogan, in
into
all of
Mel
his
Gibson
transgressions,
because fuck that guy
has
as well.
crossed a fucking line. And can he be redeemed? Yes, I do think it's possible. I don't think that the shit that he has said has to be held over him forever. But I think he has
this is
to
a
do
quote.
real.
I mean, I can't say a
work.
word about the quote.
And I don't think he's willing to do it.
He actually said these things.
Just like he wouldn't take accountability in his apology. He's not taking accountability for why he's being booed now. And as long as that's his attitude, then he's going to be held in the same contempt. He hasn't done anything substantial to change it. Again, it's not about a bad word. It's about a dehumanizing attitude.
And this is a YouTube video, so.
And it's about the obstacles that you now put in front of black fans to be able to enjoy you.
That is a deal.
I was a little kid. I used to fucking
I'm running
love
down
Hulk
all these people.
I remember wanting Hulk Hogan to beat
And this
Ultimate
all
Warrior when
ties
they
back
had
into
their
California being on
clash
fire.
at WrestleMania 6, I believe, when he was supposed to pass the torch. I wanted Hogan to win. I was a big fan of Hulk Hogan.
Keyword was.
I bought into his character, to train and say your prayers and take your vitamins. And it was legitimately painful to hear him say those words. about everybody being a little racist, about fucking niggers, about if you're going to fuck with niggers, get a rich one. And I don't think he's done enough to address it. I don't think he's done anything to address it. I think he's still trying to coast on the nostalgia. And he's used to being able to do whatever the hell he wants. And so I'm happy. I am happy when it gets booed because it's every time, and it's happened before. I don't think ever as vociferously as Monday, but it's happened
Ultimate
before.
Warrior hates Hulk.
Every time it's an
Macho
opportunity
Man
for him
hates
to learn something.
Undertaker
He's
hates
fucking
him.
refusing to learn. I think for a
You
lot
don't
of folks,
earn that
it's
kind of
easy when he tears
reputation
his shirt. Like I
on
said, it's an
accident.
easy road to nostalgia. You know, but when I see him tear his shirt, he just looks like a racist with a torn up shirt on. And he sounds
Rest
like
in peace to the Iron Sheik.
he sounds and looks like a lot of other people I don't really want to fucking hear from.
Great dude.
Nostalgia's not going to work for me, brother. Like and subscribe, homie, friend. It's free. Stop playing.
Misinformation is also spreading, just as Facebook has decided to stop fact-checking and go to community.
Another horrible thing that has happened is that Meta has decided to stop fact-checking. This will definitely allow for more misinformation to pass. And especially in the case of the California fires, I've been watching Gavin Newsom running 1,000 miles an hour to catch up to every lie that comes up from these social media sites unchecked. And he has to sit there and debunk each and every one. So for each time somebody posts something crazy, he has to address it. And if he doesn't address it, these narratives spin out of control. And they're going to anyway, even with all the work that he's doing. So to have these jackasses all of a sudden become ambassadors,
Notes, I guess they're calling
it's
it.
about to get interesting.
Donny O'Sullivan takes a look at some of the misinformation that's out there right now.
California has a lot of problems that
you can't
sort of
fix,
baffle
Mel.
the mind as far as why they do things.
Mel Gibson on Fox News primetime after losing his home in the California fires.
And then in the events like this, you sort of look, well, is it on purpose?
Which misinformation
it's an
arrow's
insane
been
thing to
popping
think.
off for a little bit.
But
and
one begins to
Elon
ponder
definitely was the
whether
100
or
mile
not
an hour wind that
there is a
let it
purpose in
fly.
mind. What could it be? You know, I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
Conspiracy theories
Mel.
spreading like wildfire.
This is an obvious land grab. They get them out of their homes this way, and then they can build whatever they want to build.
From the common
Yeah, I'm playing
refrain that
Path
it's
of
all
Exile
part of a
too.
government plot.
This is siege by design.
To suspected AI-generated video and images falsely showing the fires approaching the iconic Hollywood sign. Fact-checkers working for Meta have been debunking some of the misinformation on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey everyone.
But last week, Mark Zuckerberg announced this.
We're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes.
Cuck, let's go.
Replacing fact-checkers with community notes, a form of crowdsourced fact-checking that is used on X. But critics say Zuckerberg shouldn't be trying to emulate X,
Yes, I did just
pointing to
one-shot him on the
viral
boss.
misinformation on that platform that goes unchecked. Like this post, viewed almost 500,000 times, baselessly claiming DARPA, a wing of the Department of Defense, started the fires.
I'm here with the fire command team at the Palisades Fire.
Indeed, X's owner, Elon Musk, has spent the last week
Elon
elevating
Mao, the
conspiracy
fake
theories about the fires.
Joey
What
player.
about water availability?
Responding to a post from disgraced conspiracy theorist Alex Jones that the fires are part of a globalist plot, Musk responded, true.
And Donny O'Sullivan joins us now. In a situation like this, I mean, it always happens, but it seems particularly acute right now.
Absolutely. And look, one of the big issues, particularly which we saw last year with hurricanes Helene and Milton, and also
Yeah,
before that the
pretty
Maui
much.
wildfires, is that a lot of this misinformation makes people who need support from government agencies, whether it be local agencies or FEMA, distrust. That's something we particularly
This is
saw
a tier
after the
15
hurricanes.
map, by
We're
the
seeing less of that here right now, but what we are seeing is, and of course, look, there is a political debate to be had about the policies here in California, but it has gone beyond that. We have seen the president-elect coming in with just straight-up false claims about policies here, and then, of course,
I don't know how I
Elon
feel
Musk,
about that,
the
Mike.
owner of X,
It's
as you saw in that piece there,
kinda
engaging with
painful.
really
I'd
wild
rather
conspiracy
be
theories in terms of that this is a
informed
planned event. It's not. But
than
also then
accept
really leaning into this sort of
happy
culture war
lies.
stuff about DEI,
And these aren't even happy
diversity,
lies. These are
and
lies that make
inclusion
people
policies,
unhappy.
and everything else like that. So it's really just a pretty toxic stew online right now. And on top of that, we're seeing changes at Meta coming soon with removing these fact checkers.
For some reason,
thanks very
because
much.
Captain Eric Scott
dislike Gavin Newsom and dislike certain politicians, they're willing to believe whatever they're hearing. Like, I don't like Newsom either, but I'm not gonna be non-skeptical when it comes down to people making claims. And so when I was hearing claims from my own family members like, Karen Bass defunded the fire department. Well, I looked into those claims. That is not what happened. That was part of the budget. There is a budget in every state. And if the budget allows for the fire department to have X amount of money, of course, the fire department is not going to be happy about not having the amount of money that they want. So they're going to say, hey, you're going to regret not giving the fire department the amount of money that it wants. At the same time, when they were making these negotiations, there was no expectation there was going to be 100-mile-an-hour winds and a house fire that was going to spread fire at close to 35 miles an hour. Like, come on. This wasn't something that was expected. So to act like these things were even foreseeable, it was a perfect storm. It doesn't matter what politician was in office at the time. It doesn't matter how things were funded. There was plenty of water. They had the equipment. That area is not equipped to deal with a wildfire. Like, neighborhoods aren't built for wildfires. So how you handle that is beyond me. But
he is the public information officer for the Los Angeles Fire Department. And Captain, it's great to have you back. Obviously, you've been joining us in these touch and go situations. I know y'all are very busy, so you're joining us on the phone tonight. We've been talking about these red flag warnings that are now in place through Wednesday evening. What is your biggest concern about that? I'm like 30
minutes away from this fire, so if anyone has a right to be pissed
the wind
off,
is
it would be
king.
me.
It always has been, and we saw it be so devastating last week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So we've been getting breaks, and then she comes back, and it's been very difficult. So the area of major concern for the Palisades burn perimeter remains the northeast area in Mandeville Canyon. It's a lot of homes, very narrow hairpin turns that we had to proactively enact parking restrictions to keep vehicles out of areas that turn to choke points in case there's additional evacuation.
The sooner we accept climate change and
right now we got a lot of firefighters lined up
accordingly
there.
and expecting the unexpected in that way, we'll probably see better outcomes.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
as
we
long
are
as you
looking
have
at live
people, and
pictures
these
right
are
now
also conservatives
in LA,
that are voting
KCAL
against budgets for fire departments and
trying
for
to contain
disaster relief,
a fire. I mean, you can see how close it is to a neighborhood on this map as we're looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest concern we've heard is new fires starting as a result of this warning, but this particularly dangerous situation warning that is so rare. If they do, are you prepared for that?
Yes, we've battled these PDS incidents in the past, particularly dangerous situations, but they are significant. We take them very seriously. So we have a ton of resources here, over 5,000 firefighters that remain on scene. And we have over 40 helicopters that are assigned. We have a very large contingency of fixed wing, including C-130s from National Guard that's here. Very large DC-10. So some of these will drop water on target hazards to protect property. Others will be more defensive and drop retardant to stop the flames at what we call the 3 R's, the roads, rivers, and ridges. So they're doing a wonderful job, and we continue to expect night operations to continue.
Are you worried that the winds could get so bad, though, that those aerial flights have to stop again, which was, of course, the issue at the beginning of these fires?
Yeah, that's more of a worst case scenario. If that happens, it makes so much more difficult to stop the flame front. So I was talking to our chief pilots today, and some of the
because this is just terrible. I don't even want to look at it right now. But this is what I am most unhappy about. Mel Gibson, Jon Voight, and Sylvester Stallone all being named as ambassadors to Hollywood. I thought this was a joke. I wish it was a joke. Feels like a joke. All three actors, let me run this back, because all three actors have indicated support for Trump. In October, when asked who he was voting for, Gibson told TMZ he didn't think his vote would surprise anyone, that he believed Vice President Kamala Harris, more likely, had the IQ of a fence post and a miserable track record. John Voight, 85-year-old actor best known for Coming Home and Midnight Cowboy, who was of course a Trump supporter, has been for some time, has been a vocal Trump supporter for years, and in October he said, "We're now in for the time of our darkest plague ever," and called Trump the only one who will save our country. From who? From what? Stallone, for his part, had not made his support for Trump too well known until after Trump won the election. Smart call. And Stallone introduced him at the gala, calling him the second George Washington, saying nobody in the world could have pulled off what he pulled off, which may be true, but for all the wrong reasons. Trump's team did not immediately answer Forbes' request for comment on what exactly the role will entail. What do we need them for? It's not clear yet. Trump said in Truth Social post that they will serve as special envoys to me for Hollywood, which has lost much business over the last 4 years to foreign countries. I mean, Canada's been killing it. Back bigger, better, and stronger than ever before, Trump did not give details on what he'd like to do or how the envoys could fit into his plans, but TV and movie filming has shifted from Southern California. And with all honesty, I don't want to see any of these actors anymore anyway. Last good movie I saw Stallone in, I think, was Creed. Like, what is he doing that I'm interested in? Like, Demolition Man was a long time ago. I am definitely not interested. Let me see if I can get one of these clips from Mel Gibson on Joe Rogan, because
What are your thoughts on evolution?
Wow.
corporations are always going to show up.
Yeah.
I don't really go for it.
No?
Yeah. Ice Age, dinosaurs, you know. What did they turn into? I mean...
Oil?
Things became extinct at some point. I don't think I was some kind of, like, you know, legless thing that crawled out of the ocean. I don't think I came from that.
Still are a legless thing that crawled out of the ocean.
I think I was created.
What are your thoughts on evolution?
So, yeah. There that goes. So then for Mike today, Roseanne MAGA rap? No. No, bro. Oh. Let me look this up. Oh, no. 10 hours ago? Tom McDonald. Oh, no. So, before I get to that depressing thing, House GOP is considering taxing tuition scholarships in order to help pay for tax cut for millionaires and corporations. Nothing good is happening for the people that wanted to vote for this dude. Their children are screwed. The economy's going to be screwed. Like, you got people already being happy that there's going to be mass deportation. If it happens at a rate that our job structure can't handle and hiring is garbage, I don't see what they're going to do. But that's a talk for another day. Now, everybody needs to suffer this with me. I'm changing the screens up. Let me small this back up. And get this back popping, because my goodness, This is horrendous. I feel like I'm being appropriated. Like right now. By two people I cannot stand. I mean, they've been burning it down for a very long time. I don't understand. Yeah, I feel like there's some massive amount of appropriation going on here. I don't know in what way I should be insulted yet. This is terrible.
We won, you mad, it's done, too bad, boo-hoo, so sad.
Oh.
We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag. Thank God that we're back, couldn't take another 4 years, that's a wrap.
I'm gonna say most of these people don't even like rap music. Like, the kind of people that are in the background here are not fans of rap music. Why are we here? And why is he wearing white tights? Who dresses like this?
Take a bath in your tears. That's a fact. You got lipstick all on your beard. You're a man. That is cap. That is cap.
Yeah,
cap,
anybody
cap,
you see
cap,
with a
cap,
Trump flag, I sincerely doubt
you're
is
accepting that's
bumping
an
rap
act.
music.
You hear pat, 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 pat.
I'm
If
saying.
you want our freedom, come and take it back. Bet you can. We won. You mad. It's done. Too bad.
I'm gonna need a power
so
cleanser
sad.
after this.
We won. You mad. You cry. We laugh. We wave the flag.
They try to cancel me and say that I'm a racist. Got a mean hook, they can't get me with that jab. Trying to take away my right to go and say this. Well, listen up, cause this gun is going bad. With the facts, 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 facts. Why they trying to turn Becky
It sounded like
into
she said a
dead?
slur.
You get pap, 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 pap. Screw Eminem, I'm Roseanne.
We won. You mad. It's
I don't even understand that line. What is?
so sad. We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag. If you mad about it, go and cry about it. Shave your head and wear a shirt that says you're woke.
No.
You can handle a lot of facts and make up lies about it. Say goodbye to Joe, your daddy's coming home. We won, you mad, it's done, too bad.
I've never heard a whinier
Now your
group of
daddy's
winners.
home.
Just being
we
real.
won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we
This
wave
is
the flag.
an assault
Now your
on the
daddy's home.
senses.
We won, you mad, it's done, too bad, boo-hoo, so sad. We won, you
Roseanne's ass is not on my bucket list.
wave the flag.
Roseanne Roseby. Oh no. Mm-mm. Yeah, I'm gonna play some Quell Chris after that. Actually, no, I'm gonna play Obamacare. That is bad. I need to hear some actual rap music after that. Like, why do that?
I'm trying to burn this bitch down, I ain't trying to break it. Fuck your opinion, but us to me don't mean anything. I brought the wave, brought the rain, brought the licking. Eyes on they cake and yours is for the taking. Wait, man, puff 'em like with Jordan, catch a lot of air. Shutting down your city, then we out of there. Everyone can get it like Obamacare. Keep it buddy, they don't want no problems there. Bucket over earlobes, headache on the headdress. Grinding like I'm soon dying, till I'm laid up bed rest. Call it Chris all day shit, I don't need no playlist. Handsome, black and headstrong, you nervous till your nails gone. Step out daddy long legs, cab Callaway stride. Make a rapper freeze up like I was acting Bayside. I be knuckled down 8, about my business back straight. I was never weird out, they just had to acclimate. Please, they grip the draws like copper tone dogs, but ain't got shit to say like back when Papa Doc lost. More Reese than Dr. Ox arms. Crazy, try to play me, you better call Saul. Train of thought on track, R&R, my R&R. Flowing through the fog of more drugs and other bars. Don't think it was, and when he was, he's no mirage. This was how brought the wave, brought the rain, brought the licking. Eyes on the cake, and yours is for the taking. Wait, man, puffin' like a Jordan, catch a lot of air. Shutting down your city, and we out of there. Everyone can get it like Obamacare. Keep it, buddy, they don't want no problems there. I'm feeling like a million stacks. How the fuck you do? Seeing how you living, bet you probably feel a buck or two. Oh shit, insure sucker proof. No deductible. Good neighbors with state pharmaceuticals by the buckalows. That's big green light for Rigno with you down like feather pillows. We got wax without the earlobes. If you match, I hold the euros. No tobacco, just the pierce from powder. Keep looking like churros. If you choke up, you get higher. Worth the Bridget and De Niro. In the far south, beach house, ashy ass, knees out, born up. Beast bounce, eat steak and eggs to my feet out. Hippie type, freak outs with woke whites who beast hype. Dropping N-words for my nigga friends. Only black folks can recite. That's free life. Thought he wasn't when he wasn't. Been in from the beginning. Getting better every minute. Smoking gun, catching the killer and creator. Gave him 2 for 1.
I'm gonna have nightmares about that music video. It's not even a question. That's going to appear in my dreams. I'm gonna wake up in cold sweats.
I brought the wave, brought the rain, brought the licking. Eyes on the cake, and yours is for the taking. Wait, man, puffin' like a Jordan, catch a lot of air. Shutting down your city, then we out of there. Everyone can get it like Obamacare.
I didn't know I could have
these. They don't want no problems there.
That is rough business. All right.
Series, The Twilight Zone, is famous for many reasons. Irony, beautiful black and white cinematography, Rod Serling's narration, and social commentary.
Gas station.
That last one was often couched in heavy metaphor for the purposes of avoiding advertiser censorship. But it was also a general feature of creator Rod.
I never considered this story. Like, I don't think I saw the original episode until way later, but I saw the Twilight Zone movie and the vignette where this kid is basically an omnipotent being holding an entire household hostage. I thought it was banging. Another rule to watch is lady ripping an LAPD at their community meeting. She goes hard. Shoot it to me. At any point, shoot it to me. But I never considered it a metaphor for like a god or how a god would act. And I don't know if this video gets to that, but they definitely run on this. Yeah, also good. Like if you're gonna get some media that's gonna make you go find other media that's older and better written, by all means, like things that lead us in the right direction versus the nonsense they keep slapping down on us.
Rod Serling's work.
Another version of the
Serling's
Wizard of
dialogue,
Oz.
for instance, can largely be defined by his use of
I'm bitter. I just found out that the Tim Chalamet version of Willy Wonka is entirely on its own. Like it has nothing to do with the original storyline. Like that hurt me. All right, what is this?
Speech that you do every week, Southers, you say that this board is committed to accessibility for the community, and yet here we are still having these meetings at 9:30 a.m. on a fucking Tuesday, and you guys couldn't even manage to have your stupid community meetings in the 3rd or 4th quarter of this year. Get it together. There have been several donations in the past few weeks for various youth programs, and like many of the other speakers today, it honestly can't be said often enough that LAPD has no business running youth mentoring programs. It's objectively a moral cesspit. It's corrupt from the top down. The elected head of your fucking rank and file runs a security company which hires cops fired from the LAPD, which is very fucking scary, very hard to get fired from the LAPD. Some of them fired for violent offenses, hires them to be security guards at Walgreens, and then scams them out of their wages. The head of this accountability body is on the payroll of a genocidal foreign army. He legally used government databases to spy on his ex-wife. He started an organization which would employ a police officer who molested over 200 kids and never said anything about it, never distanced himself from it. And the stuff that I have heard in the last 2 years of attending these meetings is like, The fact that you think that you can run programs for kids is truly disgusting. And just off the top of my head, what I can remember, a new recruit arrested for child molestation, a supervisor fucking their subordinate on the job, and I think it was the wife of another officer, an officer who sexually abused a mentally ill woman and forced her to have sex with an animal. I mean,
Gabriel Spada.
you blew up a truck full of fireworks and killed people and blew up their houses. You beat the shit out of protesters. You kill people in high-speed chases. You shoot them in the worst moments of their lives when they come to you
they are not
for help.
right now.
And you have the nerve to run fucking youth mentoring programs? It's literally mind-blowing. I want to talk with my time remaining about something that happened on Wednesday. There was a sweep at an encampment in CD11. There is a woman there that I'm friends with who lives in an RV. She obviously is coping with a lot, and she was talked into voluntarily giving up her car to be towed by an LAPD officer. She didn't understand what was happening to her, and she wasn't allowed to get any of her shit out of her car, so she had no clothes, she had no underwear, she had no food. And you know what the dumbest thing is? When I call that fucking tow company, they'll let us come down and get her shit out of the car. But that LAPD officer couldn't give her 5 minutes to get her stuff out of the car before they took it away. And also tricked her into signing something, into voluntarily giving up her vehicle, which she did not realize she was signing. Fuck all you guys.
Right. That was amazing. That was the best rant of whatever year that was. If this just happened, it will be the best rant of the year. So it was what, 4 weeks ago? Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Jeez,
metaphor, and the writer hardly required an incentive to employ this literary device. Take, for example, People Are Alike All Over, an episode that uses aliens running a human zoo to tell a downer story about the general cruelty of human beings. There's also The Howling Man, which uses the traditional concept of the devil to explore the insanity of two world wars being waged only 20 years apart, and how terrifying that must have felt to someone who lived through both. One episode that is rarely considered anything more than a simple horror story, albeit an ingenious one, is Season 3, Episode 8, titled It's a Good Life. This episode takes place in the town of Peaksville, Ohio, where it sucks to be alive. Why does it suck? Well, you see, everyone in Peaksville has to think happy thoughts and say happy things, because the entire town is at the mercy of Anthony Fremont, a 6-year-old boy with godlike powers. At the beginning of the episode, we're told that Anthony used his powers to isolate Peaksville from the rest of the world, either taking the town to a pocket dimension or by flat-out destroying everything else. The citizens of Peaksville aren't sure which. Rather than do the logical thing and turn the town into Candyland, Anthony has used his abilities to enforce certain prohibitions. You see, first off, Anthony doesn't like cars or electricity, so he got rid of all the cars and machines in Peaksville. No, Anthony isn't Amish. It would be so much easier if he was. Anthony also hates singing because he prefers instrumental music. When he heard his Aunt Amy singing one day, he basically lobotomized her with his mind. And he likes her. Anthony has also gotten rid of most of the dogs in Peaksville, since none of them like Anthony. And as Anthony says, he hates anyone who doesn't like him. In fact, if you so much as have a slightly negative thought about Anthony, he might pick up on it and set you on fire, or turn you into a monstrosity and then use his powers to send you to the cornfield. That's where Anthony sends Bill Som's dog, and he likes him. Because of all this, the people of Peaksville can't even complain about their situation. Instead, they're forced to constantly reassure Anthony by saying it's a good thing that he does all that weird shit. Luckily, even without electricity, the town still has some entertainment, as on certain nights, Anthony makes television for everyone. The adults stare uncomfortably at the violent display conjured up by Anthony, trying to hide their disgust before applauding. Frankly, I don't know what their problem is. This has dinosaurs. It's fucking awesome. Hey look, it's Bill Soms. That poor schlub had to come to this kid's house to watch his stupid show the same day he killed his dog? One of those days, huh, Bill? After the show, the adults throw a birthday party for their buddy Dan Hollis, and stupidly gift him a bottle of peach brandy, which he almost immediately gets drunk off of. His wife
Ooh,
also
bad
gives him a
idea.
record from his favorite artist, Perry Como.
Exactly.
Dan
The
hasn't
subtext
heard new
hits
music in
different. It's
years,
very
which is
subtle.
why he forgets that Perry
Great
Como
writing.
sucks. But that's not the most unpleasant surprise he's going to get tonight. Dan asks to play his record, but everyone looks at him like he just his pants, and the idea is quickly squashed. Dan then gets progressively more drunk and causes a scene. As the adults look at Dan in horror, he tries to get them all to attack Anthony as a group, saying that while Anthony is focused on him, someone could hit the boy from behind with a heavy object, but the others just stand there. Anthony calls
nobody
Dan
want
a
any of that
bad man,
smoke?
which honestly I can't blame him for. He's rude as f***. Finally, Anthony puts this rude drunk in his place by turning him into a jack-in-the-box, horrifying everyone. Anthony's father begs him to wish the jack-in-the-box into the cornfield, which he does. As Pat continues playing piano, Anthony uses his powers to make it snow. Anthony's father briefly loses his composure, saying that the snow will ruin half of the town's crops, before
I think it is
regaining
still
control of
relevant.
himself and reassuring Anthony that it's a good thing that he's making it snow, and tomorrow is going to be a real good day. Based on the short story of the same name by Jerome Bixby, It's a Good Life is frequently cited as one of the best episodes of the Twilight.
I think one of the last episodes I saw, yeah, the one with Burgess Meredith, where he was a reader with glasses that didn't really want to deal with relationships, and he ended up cracking his glasses. That was a genius episode. I can't remember what the name of the episode I saw was, but it was essentially like it was a nice little suburban neighborhood, and all of a sudden things started happening, like lights getting shut off, all sorts of random things, and like when nobody had power, everybody's like kind of freaking out trying to figure out what's going on. Then all of a sudden certain people start getting power, and they're like, why do these people have power and we don't have power? Like, what's going on? What are they doing? They must be in on it. And all of a sudden, the distrust of the neighborhood starts cracking off like crazy. And come to find out, it's some aliens floating over this suburban neighborhood, basically just flicking their lights on and off just to screw with them to see how fast they can get them to turn on each other. It was brilliant television. You don't get stuff like that anymore. Time Enough at Last, the name of the episode? Yeah. That's the one where he cracks his glasses. There was time now. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's good stuff.
Twilight Zone, and is, without a doubt, one of the most famous. It's odd then that unlike other famous episodes like The Monsters Are Due on Maple, there has been very little dissection of its deeper meaning in mainstream critical assessments. Namely, It's a Good Life is a story about what it's like to live in a totalitarian society. Totalitarianism is defined as a political system where the government has complete control over the people, and the citizens are subject to the absolute authority of the state, or in the words of fascist dictator Benito Mussolini, all within the state, none outside the state, none against the state. According to historian and philosopher Hannah Arendt, totalitarianism is an idea that came about in the first half of the 20th century, a fact which, along with its all-encompassing nature, distinguishes it from standard authoritarianism, where citizens are often allowed a certain degree of individual freedom, though still extremely limited. In a totalitarian society, even a person's private thoughts are property of the state. The people of Peaksville have to think happy thoughts even when Anthony's not around, and they're not even sure he can hear them.
It's not fair.
That essentially makes it an ideology, something the citizens have to internalize and repeat like a mantra. In the words of Hannah Arendt, before mass leaders seize the power to fit reality to their lies, their propaganda is marked by its extreme contempt for facts as such. For, in their opinion, fact depends entirely on the power of man, who can fabricate it. In the early 1920s in Germany, the myth of the Dolchstoß, or stab in the back, said that Germany had not actually lost World War I, but had actually been betrayed by certain people. We'll just put it like that. This lie was later made official state history under fascism. In Imperial Japan, a special higher police, or Toko, also known as the Thought Police, were charged with saving the population from dangerous thoughts, considered a threat to the state. According to Hannah Arendt, there are no dangerous thoughts. Thinking itself is dangerous. The citizens of Peaksville would likely agree with this sentiment. In the original short story, it's explained that they're almost always mumbling to themselves and deliberately jumbling up their thoughts, so that Anthony can't read them so easily. Also in the original story is the idea that Anthony liking you is almost as bad as him disliking you. So you have to be careful not to let him read any thoughts about you wanting your dead relatives back. Or Anthony might grant your wish and send their rotting visage straight to your door. Remember, at the beginning we're told that Anthony isolated Peaksville and removed all electricity and machinery. Because of this, the town is slowly running out of supplies, and it seems to be implied that while Anthony can manipulate and destroy matter, he may not be able to create it or bring it back once destroyed. In nations run by totalitarian regimes, borders with other nations are tightly controlled, and options for trade are extremely limited, often leading to shortages. In communist Cuba, for instance, the U.S. imposed trade embargo, along with tight government restrictions, led to the use of old, run-down cars built before the Cuban Revolution, sometimes called Fontigos. In communist Albania, the concept of self-reliance was used to justify isolating the country even from other communist governments, leading to extreme poverty. To the citizens of such a nation, it would be as if the rest of the world simply did not exist. There's also the nature of Anthony's abilities. As I said, it seems like he can manipulate and destroy, but not create. In the words of Hannah Arendt, until now, the totalitarian belief that everything is possible seems to have proved only that everything can be destroyed. Totalitarian regimes are also fond of limiting the exposure their citizens have to foreign cultures, and therefore tend to maintain a monopoly over all forms of mass communications, including television broadcasts, facilitating public displays of propaganda. Naturally, you're going to want to pretend to agree with those displays if you don't want people to think you're disloyal to the state. In one famous incident, when communist dictator Joseph Stalin was being honored with a round of applause, it is said that not a single person in the audience wanted to be the first one to stop clapping, which led to the applause supposedly going on for 11 minutes.
That is terrifying.
According to author and Gulag survivor Alexander Solzhenitsyn, with make-believe enthusiasm on their faces, looking at each other with faint hope, the district leaders were just going to go on and on applauding till they fell where they stood, till they were carried out of the hall on stretchers. Anthony's fickle mood and unpredictability are also interesting. According to Hannah Arendt, a key feature of the totalitarian personality is an absence of continuity. In other words, citizens of the totalitarian state are trained to expect constant change and to accept it immediately. Then there's Anthony's cornfield. In the original short story, the cornfield is just that. More importantly, it's a place where Anthony can go to get away from the bothersome thoughts of humans and enjoy the simple thoughts of the animals, who are much easier to please. In the Twilight Zone episode, it's always felt to me as if the cornfield is an area that may be a netherworld between Peaksville and the great void that surrounds it, although this is never made clear. What is clear is that the cornfield is where Anthony sends unwanted things. This is perhaps the single most unique aspect of totalitarianism, and I'm going to be very careful about how I say this so as to not violate YouTube's policies. Prison camps. According to Hannah Arendt, these prisons serve as laboratories in which the fundamental belief of totalitarianism that everything is possible is being verified. This makes sense, since the cornfield is a trash dump where Anthony sends all of his grotesque creations, like Dan. It's a place something goes when Anthony is done playing with it, so it can stay out of sight and not bother people. All totalitarian dictators have places like this, regardless of their specific ideology. It might even be said that these places are the ultimate point of this system. The last connection is probably the loosest, but I still think it's interesting. As I mentioned, at the end of the episode, Anthony makes it snow, for no other reason than he wanted it to, and this will likely result in half of the crops dying, and the citizens of Peaksville undergoing a period of starvation. From 1932 to 1933, the nation of Ukraine experienced a famine, which resulted in the deaths of millions of Ukrainians, now referred to by historians as the Holodomor. While the exact causes of the Holodomor are still debated, one thing which most historians agree on is that the famine was man-made. Communist dictator Joseph Stalin had begun implementing a program of forced collectivization, where multiple families were forced into community farms and denied basic forms of private property. This was an extremely painful process for both the young and the old, resulting in many deaths, and it ultimately created a kind of new serfdom. Comrade Stalin, of course, had no sympathy for the serfs. Collectivization would ultimately lead to widespread famine, including within Ukraine, and it's still not clear whether this was done intentionally.
But these people want to
Of
be
course,
Russian.
one
They're
might
ethnic
ask if
Russian.
these connections are deliberate or accidental. Certainly, The Twilight Zone did not require metaphors to hide any critiques of totalitarianism, and overt examples can be found
Seeing
in
stuff
Peter
like
Falk's
this
take
makes
on
the
Fidel
talking points
Castro
all the
in
more
The Mirror,
insulting
or
when
the
you hear
all-powerful government in
people being
The Obsolete
pro-Russia
Man.
against Ukraine.
But I do think that there are enough connections here to warrant at least a discussion of the idea.
Sorry
An
to
interesting
hear that,
comparison
Rabbit, but I'm
to It's a
glad your
Good Life
family made it the
would be
heck
the
out of
film
there.
adaptation included in the Twilight Zone movie. With a screenplay by Richard Matheson and directed by Joe Dante, the film version of It's a Good Life has both the benefits of a bigger budget than the original episode and possibly the development of child psychology. In this version, we follow school teacher Helen Foley, who gets lost looking for her
This is
new
the version
job.
I saw
While
first.
stopping in a roadside diner, she accidentally runs into a kid
It
with
hits
her
a
car.
very
The
different
kid turns
note.
out to be fine, but asks Helen if she'll take him home. On the way,
It's just the
he
people of the
introduces
house,
himself
not
as
the entire
Anthony.
town.
When Helen takes Anthony back to his house, it's immediately obvious something weird is going on, with Helen particularly bemused by the strange behavior of the adults in the house. The first brilliant addition here is Matheson and Dante's use of cartoon imagery throughout. The movie version of Anthony is older and has much more powerful abilities, possibly because of the budget increase. The second brilliant addition is the fact that the adults are honestly kind of worse than Anthony. They're all pathetic lowlifes, desperate to survive at any cost, which is in the original episode, but this version turns it up to 11. This version also loses any semblance of the totalitarian metaphor, instead exploring the consequences of giving children too much power and not enough discipline. Although one could look at it as putting a progressive spin on the story, with the school teacher
Budget
influencing
equals
Anthony
more power
to use
is
his powers
true.
for
The
good.
budget, the power of the budget
Ultimately,
increase.
the movie version of It's a Good Life takes a much more human approach to the concept. In my opinion, the film version is well worth watching, and it's also the best segment in the Twilight Zone movie. Helen,
Yep,
who
it's
happens
all
to be named
zap
after
zaps.
Rod Serling's
What's
favorite
good,
childhood teacher,
Mando?
also happens to make reference to the towns from both walking distance and a stop at Willoughby, which is fun. I also want to mention It's Still a Good Life, a sequel to the original episode made 40 years later for the 2002 Twilight Zone reboot. Billy Mumy and Cloris Leachman reprised their roles as Anthony and his mother, and Mummy's actual daughter Liliana plays Anthony's
Things
daughter
get wrecked.
Audrey. The episode is written by Ira Stephen Bear, one of the key voices on my favorite Star Trek show, Deep Space Nine, so it's no surprise that I really like this episode. Ira Stephen Bear totally gets the dictator metaphor, and even has a scene where Anthony begins enacting his own purge. We also get to see
The
Anthony
fun thing
actually
about
set someone
media,
on fire with his
and also
mind,
the bad
which he
thing
only
about
talked
media,
about in the
people
original
get
episode.
whatever they're going
You
to
can
get
tell that
from
Ira
that
Stephen Bear
media,
thought a lot about
and
this
their
world, with
interpretation
inclusions
of it
such as moonshine.
can be what it's going
Boy,
to be.
You know who really would have liked that?
But it kind of
Dan.
removes the idea
One interesting
of
feature is that Bear
what the
agrees with
artist's
the
original
notion that
intention
Anthony can
is.
manipulate and destroy, but not really create or bring things back. And this episode essentially makes that canon, if you count it as such. I highly recommend this sequel, if for no other reason than Billy Mumy's performance as a 46-year-old Anthony. He's still great at that creepy stare, and I genuinely feel bad for him when he talks about how people are always pretending to be his friend. Reminds me of the dude from Foxcatcher.
I think we know why.
The last thing I have to mention for all you theme park fans out there is that It's a Good
Something
Life
having to do
also
with
happens to be the
sociopathy.
source for the footage of Rod Serling used in Disney's Tower of Terror attraction, albeit with some digital alteration, and impersonator Mark Silverman dubbing Serling's lines. Serling's widow personally approved Silverman, so hopefully she at least got paid for that. It's a Good Life can be found on both DVD and Blu-ray sets of the Twilight Zone Season 3 or of the complete series, and is available to stream on Paramount+. Twilight Zone the movie is also on both formats, while It's Still a Good Life is included on the complete series of the Twilight Zone 2002 DVD set, and you can also see it on Tubi, and as of this upload, it's on YouTube. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I know that I'm not the first person to talk about this metaphor, but I just don't see a lot of discussion of it, and I just find it interesting, so I thought I would do a little bit of a deep dive, give some examples and stuff, and so I hope everybody enjoyed that one. Happy spooky month. happy Halloween month. Happy October. I am so glad. This is my favorite month. I freaking love it. And so as a consequence, I'm going to be working really hard, and probably won't be able to get out. I was originally wanted to get out one like every week. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, just because I'm really busy right now, which sucks. But I'm going to do my best to get out some of my best material and some really good Halloween stuff. And I'm also going to have a special video for Day of the Dead as well,
right,
so to kind of keep that vibe going.
It has been
hopefully.
fun. I think
thank you everybody who has supported me this whole time. Thank you all the subs.
And I will get some things in mind for something to do this again soon, because we got MLK Day coming up, so I get to chill. So I will catch y'all next time, and we will be back on Wednesday. I believe I have a chat set up with Reservoir, so we'll see how that works out, and I hope I can come up with something interesting to run by him in the process. And yeah,